Basically, what I want to convey to the brothers is this. You deserve the best if you've done the work. If you've done the work, you deserve the best. You deserve the best if you've done the work. If you've gone to school, if you work hard, if you put your time in, you deserve the best. You shouldn't have to settle for mediocrity if you've done the work, if you've applied yourself, if you went to college, you saved and invested your money. Not only do you deserve the best, you should demand the best. Let me tell you guys something. Don't ever let a person trick you out of what your worth is. You know, many times, guys, we have women that say, I'm going to adjust my crown. But I'm going to tell you guys something, especially my brothers that went to college, you guys have studied hard. Many of you men, when you went to college, you didn't have nobody to support you. You didn't have nobody to celebrate you on your ascension. And now that you've gotten to the pinnacle of your success, they want you to take a bad deal and settle for mediocrity. I want you guys to see something, man, as I showed you guys earlier. That's the Empire State Building. The Empire State Building is a sign of the pinnacle of your success as a man. You've already reached the top of the Empire State Building. Now you can look above the kaleidoscope, and then, guys, you can see, I don't know if you guys can hear me, but now you guys can see, once you get to the mountaintop, what your options are. When you're down in the valley, you can't see what your worth is. But now, because you're at the top or at the pinnacle of your success, now you can see what your worth is. But once again, there are going to be others, guys, that are going to try to sabotage you. They're going to be trying to tell you that you don't deserve the best, to tell you that you do deserve the best. I want you guys to go back in memory lane and go back in time when you guys were more or less, how can I say it, in the student hall, in the library, up in the wee hours of the night, studying, writing research papers, when you guys were working 10 and 15 hours, grinding again, trying to get it in, working sometimes double shifts to make money. And you think some entitled woman that doesn't respect you or honor you as a man is supposed to get everything that you worked your behind off for. You would be a fool to settle for mediocrity. You would be a fool not to demand something of value and worth. That's if you've done the work. As I said earlier, when you guys graduate from high school and college, and sometimes graduate and postdoctoral school, many times you didn't get any support. No one was there to come to your rescue or aid. They didn't speak life into you. They didn't tell you that you're great. They didn't tell you that you deserve the best. But now, since you guys have gotten to the pinnacle of your success, you're at the finish line. Now they want to come and give you a bad deal, and they expect you to settle for something that's average. But watch this. The pinnacle of your success was not average. When you were, like I said, in graduate school or postdoctoral school, studying, nobody was there to support you when you was on your ascension. So why should you get with a chick that's not worthy and honorable enough to be in your life as a man? As I told you guys when I first came up here in New York, when you start to set standards for your life, when you start to set boundaries, you won't tolerate or continue to tolerate mediocrity. World travel, guys, is that critical piece that will help you become the better version of yourself. I told you guys before in the past that there are 7 steps that a man must go through in order to become optimized. World travel is one of the great equalizers to helping you become a better version of yourself. You'll begin to see the world from a different perspective. You'll begin to see your resources from a different perspective. You will begin to see women from a different perspective to the single men. Some of you single men are looking for wives. You are convinced that most women in the West are not cooperative. They're not feminine. They're not going to listen. They're not going to change. And they're going to always be victims because they don't want to do the work. So ask yourself the question, why would I invest the remainder of my good years with women that don't want to listen, women that don't want to learn, women that have mental health issues, and they have not gotten the proper help that they need? So are you going to waste your time selling for mediocrity? Now listen, I'm not against the men that want to stay here and deal with American women. If you feel like you got a good woman here in America, go for it. I'm not against it. If you feel like you found a decent woman in America, fine, do it. But before you decide to settle in America, make sure you explore what your options are. Make sure you explore countries where the women are traditional and the women are from patriarchal cultures. Because once you begin to explore what your options are, you are not going to settle for mediocrity. And see, they know that, guys. They know that. They don't want you to know how much your worth is. They don't want you to know that there's a king inside of you. They want you to settle. They want you to take a bad deal. But once again, when you've done the work, you've looked adversity in the eyes, go back in time about 5 or 10 years ago when you were driving for Uber, when you were sleeping in your car, when you was in the wee hours of the night. Nobody was there to console you. No one's there to comfort you. No one gave you encouragement. But like they say up here in New York, you had to get it how you live. That's what you had to do. You had to get it how you live because nobody was going to give it to you. But right now, once again, guys, the Empire State Building, that's the pinnacle of your success. Are you going to settle? Are you going to demand better? Still in Manhattan, you'll be going to Brooklyn at some point. But are you going to settle or are you going to demand the best? Because once again, your time on this earth is limited. Tomorrow is not promised to no man. Many of our comrades have died and passed away with dreams deferred. And they never knew what potential they had because they were slaves in their mind. Harriet Tubman said it better than me. She said that I could have freed a lot more if they did not already know that they were slaves. They are still slaves in their mind because they have not changed the law in their mind. Shout out to Mr. Palmer. They have not changed the law in their mind. Once you change the law in your mind, once you begin to put in the work, once you begin to challenge the thinking errors that you have as a man, you are no longer going to be the same. You will no longer be the same. World travel is going to open your eyes up. It's going to open your eyes up to new cultures, new women, new traditions. And it's not to say that there are not issues in other countries too. There are issues everywhere you go because human beings, regardless where you go, are going to be human beings. But watch this. Other cultures have not been infected with liberal policies and liberal dogmas that seek to sabotage our men. Shout out to James Turner. He's right now in South Africa, man. He's in South Africa. Shout out to James Turner. He said, it's everything evening for me. I'm still abroad. I travel back there tomorrow. Yeah, James is still in South Africa, enjoying his life. He's one of those brothers, a highly educated brother, an engineer. And he's not selling for mediocrity. He don't have to sell it for it. But see, if you stay here in America, you got guys that tell you to sell it for mediocrity for the sake of the community. And you don't have to do that. Because watch this. To you men that have gotten advanced degrees, to you blue-collar brothers that have worked your behinds off, where was the community at when you was on your ascension? Did they celebrate you when you were on your ascension? If the community celebrates you guys when you was on your ascension, I need you to hit 1 if they celebrated you. If the community celebrated you while you was on your ascension, I need you to hit 1. But if the community did not celebrate you on your ascension, because they didn't celebrate me, then you need to start down focusing on yourself. Shakespeare said it better than me. He said, to thine own self be true. You got to be true to yourself. To thine own self be true. That's what Shakespeare said. He said, to thine own self be true. Because the community, historically, and also as a collective, have not historically celebrated the advancements and the achievements of African American men. They've never done it as a collective. But they have done it many times for our girls, with Black Girl Magic, Black Girl Rock. But they've never done it as a collective for our boys and our men. So now you want men to come back where they're at the pinnacle of their success, to sell it for mediocrity, to sell it for the community just because their mama is black and their skin color is black. And that's foolish because, as I told you guys before in the past, we were never one when we were in Africa. We were never one, but we were forced into oneness. We were forced to become one when we were here in America. We were forced to become one under Jim Crow racism. James Turner said, I told my sister about what I'm transforming into. Hold tight. I couldn't see the comment. But anyway, we were forced into oneness when we came here from America. We were forced into oneness. We became one conscious collective of people. We became one conscious collective of people, forced into oneness and forced into an identity that was mired in servitude, three-fifths humans politics, and also mired into the dehumanization of people of ADOS descent. That's what we were mired into, but watch this. The times have changed. There's no longer a community collective. There's no longer what's called community consciousness. So if there's not community consciousness or a community collective, why are you selling for mediocrity? So did they celebrate you on your ascension? And most guys will say, no, they didn't, because they didn't celebrate me. But now, because I've reached, how can I say it once again, the fact that I've reached the Empire State Building, the fact that I've reached the pinnacle of my success, you guys can see the peak to the top, because that's the Empire State Building. But the fact that I've reached the pinnacle of my success, and you guys can see the Empire State Building, now they want you to sell them. And I'm telling you, you don't have to sell them. What you should do, you should get with those that were getting with you while you were on your ascension. Those men or women that were encouraging you on your ascension, that's what you need to deal with. You need to deal with the women that were encouraging you on your ascension. But the sad fact is, many times they were not encouraging you, because sadly, many of our women have been taught to think that part of the issues with black men and black women is that the black man is the enemy. We were never the enemy, we were your allies. We were waiting patiently for you to fall in line. We were waiting patiently for you to fall in order. We were waiting patiently for you to realize that we were here to love you, protect you, and give you the world. But because you believed the lie, because you believed the lie of liberal dogma and liberal ideologies, you deceived yourself. And now many of you are singing that song by Teddy Pendergrass, the whole world is laughing at me. And so, as I told the men in the future, in the past, begin to live your lives, guys. Don't settle for mediocrity. Don't let the sun go down on your glory, because many guys, as I told you guys from the first day I was here in New York, have gone to the grave with dreams deferred. Dreams deferred because they did not know what their worth was as a man. But see, there are women, guys, that know what your worth is. There are women that would love to get with your program. There are women that would love to honor you and respect you as a man. There are women from other countries that would love to see you as their priority instead of seeing their careers as their priority. And that's the kind of woman that you want to get with. Sarah called Abraham her Lord. Sarah lived her life to serve her husband and her family. And that's what you want in a woman. You want a woman to live her life to serve you, because if that woman lives her life to take care of you and honor you as a man, that woman's going to be abundantly blessed. That woman will be abundantly blessed if she lives her life to serve her man, if she chooses correctly. We're not talking about abusive men. We're not talking about men that don't have a vision. We're talking about men that have done the work, men that are dedicated to the mission, men that are dedicated for life, for the program. We know that there are women that have given their best to some of their men, that men turned around and deceived them once they got to the top. But I'm not talking about men like that. Some women will say, well, I helped my man when he was down, and then once he got to the top, he left me and got with somebody else. Well, I'm not talking about those kind of men. I'm putting myself in the equation. I'm very loyal. But I'm not going to be loyal to a community that was not loyal to me. Using the idiom that, because your skin is black, then you're supposed to be part of the community. No, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that at all. Tavis Smiley said it better than me. He said, my kinfolk, skinfolk are not my kinfolk. Just because your skin is black, it doesn't mean that we are one as it relates to collective consciousness. We're not one as it relates to collective consciousness. So if we're not one as it relates to collective consciousness, then I'm not going to give my best to people that did not give their best to me when I was down and out. Give your best to the men and the women that supported you on your ascension. And we know that those that while you were on your ascension, we know that the numbers are far and few in between. Many of you men didn't get any support. Many of you men, when you graduated from with PhDs and master's degrees and bachelor's degrees, they weren't there at the finish line to say, I'm proud of you, nephew. I'm proud of you, brother. I'm proud of you, daddy. They didn't say nothing. They held contempt in their heart towards you because what they wanted, guys, was power. They want power in the relationship. So education and money symbolize power. They didn't want you to know how much power that you had or how much potential power that you had. They didn't want you to know that there was a king inside of you that was waiting to fly away. They wanted you to settle for mediocrity. They wanted you to take a bad deal. They didn't want you to utilize relationship capitalism. Shout out to the English, the peaceful life. They didn't want you to know that we live in a market where the market is inflated with egos, inflated with entitlement, inflated with the lack of civility, inflated with the lack of femininity. They didn't want you to know that. But now that men are beginning to see the world for what it is, men are beginning to know what their worth is, men are beginning to travel, now you got saboteurs that are trying to shame you back into silence. They're trying to minimize your masculinity again by saying you're lame, you're dusty, your phallus is small, your mama is black, you don't love the black community, all this foolishness, all in the name of servitude. If there was a collective consciousness of blackness in America where we celebrate our men and boys on a consistent basis, then I would be more loyal to the idea and the concept of community enterprise. But because we have not consistently aggrandized our boys and our girls at the same level and the same rate that we aggrandize our girls, then why should you be loyal to someone that have not been loyal to you? As I said earlier, Shakespeare said it better than me. To thy own self, be true. To thy own self, be true. Once you begin to be true to yourself, you're not going to settle for mediocrity because now you see the world for what it is. Now you're on the mountaintop, and now you can look down in the valley. Once you get to the mountaintop and look down in the valley, you realize that what you thought was great, now you're just in the land of the dodo birds. See, once you get to the mountaintop, you start seeing the eagles fly around your head. And see, when you're in the valley, you have the mentality of a dodo bird. A dodo bird is a flightless bird. He can't fly, he can't travel. That's what a dodo bird is. But once you get to the pinnacle of your success, you'll start flying with the eagles. And once you start flying with the eagles, you begin to see beyond what you saw before in the past. Because see, when you're in the valley, you can't see your potential or your success. But when you're on the mountaintop, when you're flying with the eagles, now you begin to see that there's greater above the horizon, that there's greater over yonder, because now I'm flying with the eagles. No longer will I have to settle for the dodo birds. No longer will I have to settle with flightless birds that don't have any vision. They don't have any regality. They don't have any sense of purpose. Now I'm flying with the eagles. And once you fly with eagles, you realize that you're on a different level. You won't see things the same again. That's why many want you to stay here in the land of the dodo birds. I'm gonna do a show on that called The Land of the Dodo Birds. They want you to be in the land of the dodo birds. Not to know what your worth is, not to know what you can do if you continue to apply yourself. They want you to be slaves of your own mind, slaves of your fears, slaves of your past, slaves of your pain, slaves of your disappointment, slaves of that imprint that you got when you was in high school when that girl told you you weren't good enough. Some of you guys right now are still slaves of your mind. You are still slaves of the first girl that rejected you. You are still slaves of your mom that didn't pour into you and show you love and nurture. And so therefore, because you're looking for validation, you'll settle for anything. You'll settle for the first woman to give you some attention. You'll settle for the first woman to cook you a hot meal because you're going through what's called affection deprivation. You were never nurtured. Your ego was never protected as a man. So the first woman to give you some attention, the first woman to give you some love, the first woman that more or less assuaged your ego, now you are mesmerized by it. But see, watch this. In other cultures, nurturing you as a man is normal. In other cultures, aggrandizing your ego as a man is normal. In other cultures, calling you Poppy and King is normal. They live to serve their men. They live to honor their men. They live to give you the best outcomes possible because they see you as the bridge to the future and they see you as the bridge for legacy. They don't think that serving their man and taking care of their man is slavery. They don't see giving their husband a warm home-cooked meal as slavery. Because even though they got a career, they realize that Their mission is their family. And I understand times have changed where men and women both work. I understand that. I understand that you cannot have a 100 traditional relationship, but you still can have what's called a contemporary traditional relationship, because men that are blue collar and white collar workers like myself, we still work, we still take care of our families, we still do traditional stuff like cutting grass and washing cars and doing all that stuff. Now, there are some that will say, well, we're going to pay folks to do that. No, we're not. If you're the leader of your home, you're not going to waste money paying folks to do something that you can do yourself. Now, if you don't have the time to do it, then you pay people. But in general, if you're the leader of your home, you're not going to waste money paying men for things that you can do yourself. She's trying to tell you how to run your program. Remember, you are the husband, she is the garden, and the children are the produce. The produce is the fruit of your labor. The produce is the fruit of your legacy. The produce is your shining valor and your shining progeny. But don't let her tell you how to run your program. Your program is your program, and her job is to fall into your program and fall under your leadership. If she's not willing to do it, if she can't honor you and respect you, then eventually just get rid of them. Because see, watch this. You got women right now, guys, that they really don't want to serve you and love you and honor you. Within their heart, they got a lot of contempt in their heart towards you. But they'll tolerate you because they know you're a good provider. They'll tolerate you because they know that you are a good protector. They'll tolerate you because they know that you're putting in work and you're going to take care of the family. But beneath the scene or in their heart, they have contempt because they don't want to submit to your authority. They want to tell you how to run your program because they are rebellious in their hearts. And I'm telling you, man, you don't have to settle for that. Start flying with the eagles. Start flying with the eagles. Leave the land of the dodo birds. Don't listen to the naysayers. Don't listen to the ones that say, just love the community for the sake of loving the community. But love yourself first. Save yourself, black man. Save yourself, white man. Save yourself, all men. Only give your best to those that earn it. As I still showed last week, I said he got a need that he can pour into. Many of you don't have a need that you can pour into anymore. Because many of you guys have been victims of a system and victims of a culture that does not honor and respect you as men. So many of you men don't have a need that you can pour into. That's why many of you guys are beginning to travel. That's why many of you guys are climbing the mountaintop. That's why many of you men now are at the pinnacle of your success. And you're going to find you a woman that can help nurture the divine masculine that lies within you. Every man has a divine masculine within himself. Every man has a king inside of himself that needs to be satiated. Once you satiate the king inside of that man not only is going to be more productive, but his garden is going to be more productive. His fruit is going to be more productive. As I told you guys before in the past, my homeboy got him a Colombiana. And I told you, when you travel abroad, you get a feminine woman, you'll make a boy. So guess what? He's going to have a little son coming soon.
Who needs that anxiety?
He's having a son coming soon because he got with a feminine woman that's on his program. And that's why I keep telling you, men, you must lead with power in relationships. Our women have been so compromised and they lack self-awareness so much, they don't realize a good thing that they have until it's gone because they don't have the gift of provision. Masculine men have the provisionary mindset. We can see what others can't see. That's part of our logical thinking hard drive. We can see, guys, what others can't see because we have a very masculine hard drive. But now, with times getting worse and worse, with so many women struggling and suffering because they listen to the hyena culture to tell them not to submit to their husbands, now they're going to be on the outside looking in. And the women that are honorable and that are genuinely honorable, not just tolerating your husband because you want to be taken care of, but you tolerate him and do it because you really love him. And you live your life to serve your man, to honor your man, to respect your man, and that dirty word, obey your man. And you're going to reap the benefits of your cooperation. Because watch this, men that are masculine will take care of feminine women. It's in our nature to do it. We're giving you free game. Women that are feminine, and then we're not talking about the synthetic femininity where the women tell men how on what they need to do. You don't get to dictate the program of a man. He dictates that program. Your line is to fall. Your job is to fall in line. And I'm gonna tell you guys something else. You know, when I grew up in church, they said let your hearts and minds be clear. Some of you men right now know in your mind it's time for you to move on up to higher ground. But your heart is so encapsulated with the West and community enterprise that you can't move forward. You can't make a clear decision. You're gonna let your heart and your mind be clear. Once your heart and your mind is clear, then you can slowly begin to move forward. You can move forward once your heart and your mind is clear. In your mind, you know that there's a problem in the West. But your heart is saying, I'm going to keep giving the West a chance. But eventually, you're going to have to challenge the logic of your heart and listen to the logic of your mind. Once the heart and the mind comes together in unison, then it's time to move. It's time to move, because watch this. Tomorrow is not promised to no man. Tomorrow, guys, is not promised to no man. So the question remains is this: are you ready to get out of the land of the dodo birds? Are you ready to get out of the land of the flightless ones? Brother, my email is kosherclinician@gmail.com. That's kosherclinician@gmail.com. Shout out to my man Randall for that $1.49 cherry pie. I appreciate it, man. But my Gmail is kosherclinician@gmail.com. It's time to change the laws in your mind. It's time to get out of the land of the dodo birds. It's time for you to recuse yourself of the mentality that's been infected upon you by the West. And it's time for you to live your life on your own terms, happy and free of shame, free of distress, free of brokenness. Because as I told you men before in the past, there is a king inside of you. And that king, guys, is waiting and ready to be loved and honored and respected by a noteworthy woman, an honorable woman, a woman that has been socialized to honor her man, a woman that's going to add longevity to your life, a woman that's going to be by your bedside when you transition over. We're not looking for perfection. We're not saying that foreign women are perfect, because they're not. They're human. Regardless of where you go, whether you go to Jamaica, whether you go to Brazil, whether you go to Colombia, whether you go to Africa, whether you go wherever in the world, human beings are the same. Human beings are the same. But once you get a taste of heaven, once you get a taste of the land of milk and honey, once you get a taste of a true feminine oscillator, our oscillator is going to spray her feminine perfume upon you, then you're not going to be the same again. So to the single men that are listening, are you ready to be with the feminine woman? Are you ready to have the laws of your mind change? You've done the work. You've applied yourself. You've invested with your money. You invested with your time. You were in the catacombs of the libraries, doing hard work, doing research, doing complex equations, to my blue collar brothers. A lot of you guys were doing laying pipe and laying plumber utensils. You guys were masons. You were doing the hard work in the hot sun of the South. You've done the work. Now it's time for the work to work for you. Don't settle for mediocrity. When you get tempted to say, I'm going to do what's best for the community, ask yourself the question, what have the community done for me? If you can't answer the question, what have the community done for me, because we call that a thought-stopping technique. In the clinical world, we call it thought-stopping techniques. Once you ask yourself the question, what have the community done for me? If you cannot come up with a concise answer, then it's time for you to move forward. It doesn't mean that you hate the community, but I'm trying to teach men to start being selfish. It's time for you to start loving yourself. Start being selfish, especially if you've done the work. It's okay to be selfish. It's okay to treat yourself. It's okay to love yourself. Shout out to the blue-collar brothers, no doubt, because blue-collar brothers have done the work. I'll tell anybody, the blue-collar workers are the foundation to America. If you take away the blue-collar brother, there is no America. The blue-collar brothers are the ones that laid laid out the bricks and did all the construction work. Look at these beautiful buildings in New York. The blue-collar brothers of our buildings. Without the blue-collar brothers, the women wouldn't have anywhere to go to talk about the men. Without the blue-collar brothers, the white-collar brothers would not have anywhere to go to do the work or to give the dissemination of the work. The blue-collar brothers are the ones that laid the pipe, that laid the cement, that built the bricks, that did the architecture, the civil engineers, the blue-collar brothers. So shout out to them. Don't ever, guys, make you feel like you're a nobody, brothers, because you're a blue-collar brother. Because in other countries, they would love to be with you if you were a blue-collar brother. They will value your worth as a man if you're a blue-collar brother. In America, our women don't value anything. They don't value blue-collar men and their hard work. Now understand that their grandfather was a blue-collar man. Their great-great-grandfather was blue-collar. Their great-grandfathers were the ones that sent them to school while they were working in the fields of the South so they can have a better life. But we don't talk about the sacrifices of men from the past. We don't talk about our grandfathers. They're more or less labeled under the sons of the South and under the tyranny and the oppression of Jim Crow racism. We don't talk about that. The only thing we want to talk about is how they abused grandma, how they got babies by other women, and that's all we talk about. We always see the story of our grandfathers and our great-grandfathers under the lens of oppression and also under the lens of abuse. But we don't see the many sacrifices that our grandfathers made. The Stokely Carmichaels. We don't see that the Eldridge Cleavers. Our grandfathers that were the Pullman Porters. Our grandfathers that died in World War I and World War II. We don't see that. We only see the successes of our ancestors and our grandfathers under the lens of tyranny, under the lens of oppression, because we have been conditioned to think that men oppressed them and more or less were their enemy. Black men were never the enemy of the black woman. Black men were allies. We were allies of the same cause, but because of selfishness, because of them wanting to be like Miss Ann, because they thinking that the white man ice water is colder, and no disrespect to my white brothers, but that was an issue in our community. We destroyed the legacy that we had when we were working together as one, and many times God said our women were compromised. In the past, our people would get married at a high rate. Our women were chaste. Our women didn't have kids out of wedlock, but they believed the lie. And now they're suffering because they believe the lie of liberal policies. So once again, guys, this has been another moment with the Manhood Chronicles as I'm bringing to you live, not from the greatest state in the Union, the Tar Heel State, but we're in the Empire State, downtown Manhattan, how they said Manhattan, money-making Manhattan, 37 and Broad Street. We're in Manhattan, that's how they say it up north, Manhattan. And at some point I will be back in the greatest state in the Union, the Tar Heel State, bringing you guys live content, giving you guys free game, and letting you men know that there's a king inside of you. I was in Harlem yesterday. I enjoyed Harlem. Harlem got that Janae Simquad that I like. I blend right in with the Harlemites. Of course I'm gonna blend in, man. When you got that 6'5" swag, got a voice like Zeus, you got that intellectual appeal like me and that salt and pepper swag. Of course I'm gonna blend in, because I got that Leo swag, man. As Leos, man, we blend in with anybody. But all jokes aside, guys, I say these things because I want to see you men win. I don't do this just because I'm doing it, but I do it with a sincere heart. I've been an advocate for men since I was 27. And I'm trying to take it to a whole nother level now. I realized that once I became a therapist, it was gonna be a game changer. And so like I said, guys, there's a king inside of you. Are you ready and willing to satiate the king? Look at James Turner. Man, James Turner always hates, man. It's okay, James, man. You can't be 6'6" like me, man, with the voice of Zeus, man. It's all right, man. Everybody can't have this Leo swag, man. And this chocolate skin, man. And this salt and pepper game. Everybody can't have it, man. I'm gonna do a show called #Salt and Pepper Game, man. Y'all see that salt and pepper? That rich chocolate skin with all that vitamin D and zinc in my bloodline, man. Looking like the ancestors, man. But yeah, man, I want to see the brothers win, man. I want to see the brothers win, and you are going to win, because if you've already done the work, you've already won. Then you just got to take it to the next level. You just got to get on that plane and say to yourself, passports and pearls. That's going to be a new hashtag. Passports and pearls. I'm going to travel and see what my options are. I'm going to travel and see if I can get the best bang for my buck, because as I did the show on Saturday, I said, if you degrees yourself from those negative thinking areas, those negative schemas, that you don't deserve a good woman, that you don't deserve a quality woman, then you begin to look yourself in the mirror and say, not only am I going to get what I deserve and what I want, but I'm going to get the best. And once you get the best, guys, once you get there, your whole life is going to change. You're going to be a happier man. You're going to be a healthier man. and you're going to live a longer life. And that's what it's all about. I told you guys my cousin passed away last year. I didn't even know it. And I'm sure he worked himself to death to some degree because men and the masculine is doing. Men have been conditioned to do. The masculine is doing. The masculine is conditioned to do. The feminine should be, meaning the feminine should reflect your mission as a man. The masculine is doing. So sometimes we do for others that don't deserve our doing. But we've been conditioned to do without getting anything in return. Other cultures do, and they get something in return. But we've been doing, guys, and we have not gotten anything in return. So now the question remains is this. Are you ready to do, and are you ready to demand what you're looking for? Are you ready to do, or are you doing, and are you beginning to demand what you are looking for? This is your time on earth. You might not wake up tomorrow, but if you've done the work, if you've applied yourself, if you're more or less done the self-inventory, some of you guys need to be in therapy because some of you guys got fragile egos, and some of you guys have been imprinted by negative women and negative men. That's why you need to get in therapy before you go on your next excursion. But if you've done the work, you got your money up, now it's time to come see me at kosherclinician@gmail.com so we can work on those stinking arrows. Once we work on those stinking arrows, and once you understand how much power that you got, you're going to start valuing yourself more, and you're going to start setting boundaries for yourself. And those people in your circle don't more or less adhere to your boundaries, then they're going to be cast aside. But once again, you're going to make sure that your heart and you're going to make sure that your mind is clear. Once you make sure your heart and your mind is clear, then we can say it's time to move forward. Once you move forward, at Anita's Gelato, once you move forward, guys, you're going to start seeing life from a different perspective once you get in the land of the eagles, not the land of the dodo birds. Too many of you guys have been in the land of the dodo birds for too long. It's time to get in the land of the eagles. Are you ready to fly? Are you ready to love yourself? Are you ready to change the law in your mind? And are you ready to get the best outcomes that you can get for your time-limited perspective on earth? Don't be afraid, guys. Don't be afraid. Let's go on the journey. Let's go on a psychic trip. Let's go to the pinnacle of our success and see the world for what it is and start demanding more. Because watch this, they're going to demand more from you. So if they're going to demand from you, guys, it's time for you to start demanding from them. So we're about to sign off, guys. We'll be chopping up my man Ty in another minute. We're about to head to Brooklyn. You know, what they say, Bed-Stuy, Flatbush. You know, I stay here long enough, man. I'm going to start getting a New York accent, man. So we're about to head to Brooklyn in a minute, guys. And I'm going to chop it up with my man Ty, man. And once again, guys, it's always a pleasure trying to work with the brotherhood, man. Always a pleasure to work with the brotherhood. Always a pleasure to more or less tell men what their worth is, because for all too long, men are not celebrated. We don't get the proper celebration on Father's Day. And like I told you guys when I started my channel, my war cry was this, where Father's Day is every day. And whereas men, we don't agree with all things or ideologies, but we do come together as allies of a common cause, only to dissipate once the crisis is over. There is a crisis in masculinity, but men, we have the power to change it if we take the time to introspect, to become self-aware, to demand more, and to more or less start setting values and boundaries around our life, and to more or less eradicate those who don't respect us as men. Then and only then will your life change. Are you ready for your life to change? If you're ready for your life to change, I need you to hit 1. If you're ready for your life to change, I need you to hit 1. If you've already done the work and you're in the process of getting your life changed, I need you to hit 2. Remember this, there are 5 steps to change in the clinical world. We call it pre-contemplation. That means I'm thinking about it, but I have not done anything. But pre-contemplation means I'm thinking about it, but I have not done anything. Contemplation means not only am I thinking about it, I'm reading books to move forward. Contemplation also can look like I'm doing the exercises. I'm looking at the plans. But in the action stage is not only when you've done the latter two, now you're in action. You're actually doing the work. You're actually demanding what you're looking for. You're in the action stage of your development. And guys, the last stage, the next stage, is the maintenance stage. You're maintaining what your value systems are and your belief system. Now you're in the maintenance stage. This is a stage you don't want to get back into. You don't want to relapse. So many men relapse. When Harriet Tubman was trying to lead slaves from the South, there were many slaves that tried to run back into slavery. Because once they got deeper into their change process, they began to get afraid because their mind could not handle what was going on. Harriet Tubman told the slaves at that time, she said, if you go back, I'll kill you. So once you start to move forward in your trajectory as a man, as an evolving man, you can't look back, because the gospel said, any man that put his hand to the plow and look back, he's not fit for the kingdom. You're not fit for the role of your future and your success if you look back. Don't look back, look forward. If you look back, you're not worthy for the mission of manhood and masculinity. You gotta look forward. Our ancestors used to say, onward, upward. You can't look back, because looking back means that you're still in a deflated mindset. You gotta look forward, get out of the land of the dodo birds, and change the things that have been impacting you in a negative way. So once again, guys, signing off. Love you, brothers. And I need you guys to remember this. And I need you guys to remember it. Are you guys ready?
Yeah, that's what I realized early on. Like,
if it ain't 7, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, it ain't right. There are 7 steps that a man must go through in order to become an optimized male, and understanding how your environment, understanding how female psychology plays a role to your psycho and your soma is paramount to the function of a man. Be well, guys. We'll be back in the Tar Heel State at some point. Bring it to you live once again, guys. Signing off.